Welcome back. Last time we left off, our friends Silence and Tine were going with the sorceress Induriel to her abode after there had been thieving of magical scrolls from Induriel of the Subtle Wind Fang spell. She was concerned because the cult that stole it, the cult of Sivanez, both have hopes to unleash what is probably a very dangerous cosmic dragon, and also they are a bit bumbling, and so with a spell that can affect people's bodies and magic, it's a little concerning what they might get up to. While they were en route, they ran into a guard who said that a was it a stone golem, iron golem? I'm realizing I'm out of doing that. It's written down over here. Stone Golem. They ran into a dwarf guard who told them that a stone golem had been stolen from the city's armory. They went to the armory to investigate, and as they were going in, a guard noticed that Tine, who has for the past few days been frowned upon in the city for works of bumbled espionage, was viewed very highly on. Silence found her in an alley as she was hiding from everyone. So the guard noticed that Tine was trying to obscure her face, hiding in her hood. So he noticed that and called over to her and said, "What are you doing with acting all skulky like?" So he motioned over to her. I'm going to ask a question of, does Tine let him get closer? Yes or no? So I'll roll with a d20 for the closed question table in Knave. 1. Ooh. No. And so that's like the worst possible version of no. All right. Tine, rather than letting this guard get close to her, decides to turn and run. She's going to turn and try to run back down the hill the way they all came from. So I am going to see. I believe that's just so that the guard will have to make like an attack roll. So let me check on that really quick. I realized I never actually rolled up the character sheet for Tine. Well, she was originally just an NPC. I didn't know she was going to be a big part. So, yeah, like the attacking and rolls probably won't work the greatest. He's probably a level 2 guard. So that'd be a 2 attack bonus. So because of no actual character sheets, I'm going to say well, he's going to try to like reach out with his axe and try to trip her up. So I'll say her dex is 12, or her dex score is 12. So he's going to roll to beat that. Oh, geez. Nope, he doesn't. That's a 2. So even with whatever bonus he has, which is 2. So, ooh, he rolled a 4 against her 15. So Tine actually just starts booking it down the hill. Silence and Induriel see this and go, "Oh," Induriel says, "Oh, what good heavens." And Silence, she's kind of made friends with her, semi-friends. She is a little prejudiced inside of law, even though she's on the run from a cult. She's still sorting out all those things that she feels about such things, like what authorities to obey, if any. So I'm going to call that a half and half on what she does, because I'm not sure. Either way could be fun. So, and I feel like each path is equal. Like I could say, oh, advantage on this because of her training, or disadvantage on this because she's now in a rebellious stage of her life. But so those even out. So it's a straight, does she run after Tine is the question. 6. That becomes no. Oh, it's a 6 through 9, so that on the table is no but. So, no, she doesn't chase after Tine, but she herself trips the guard, or sticks out her foot to trip the guard as he's trying to trip Tine. So Silence kicks out to trip him, which I would say is a strength check. Would that be strength or an attack? Save is opposed by another character. Determine initiative. Oh, I guess I probably should have rolled initiative. Oh well, I can do that next time. So I'm just going to have her do something similar, which is she's going to make a roll plus her strength bonus, which is 2. And she's going to be, and I said he was a level 2, so his dex to avoid being tripped would be 12. So she needs to roll higher than a 12. And she has a bonus of 2. Oh, 16 plus 2, 18. That wins. So she actually sticks out her foot and trips the dwarf guard, and he falls flat on his face as Tine keeps running down the hill. Silence is just standing there, and now that she's done that, she's not quite sure what to do. And suddenly Induriel grabs her, who was already cleared by the guard. Induriel grabs her, yanks her inside, and they kind of duck around the corner, and Induriel says, "What do you think you are doing? Why are you tripping? Why is Tine running away?" And Silence is, well, so it seems she's had a bit of trouble. I don't think I actually found out much of what it is. And so, I'm not going to let her get, chased or something. So, but I mean, that's all I know. And Induriel looks out. The guard is standing up and spluttering and like spitting dirt out from his beard and lips. She has, oh my, well, we might as well investigate this. Hopefully he doesn't think of anything. Think of us when he's distracted by her. I'm going to roll to see if the guard does remember them or stay on post. Remember them and come after them or stay on post. Does the guard come inside after them? 14. I think that's going to be a yes. Yes, but I honestly like the modifiers where it's not just a straight yes. It's like, yes, but. Yes, he starts coming in to probably ask them some tough questions. But as he does so, a higher ranked dwarf comes down the hall, and Induriel quickly walks up to him and says, "Oh, hello. Yes, I'm here to investigate what has happened with your stolen golem. I'm a sorceress, the sorceress Induriel, and therefore I could probably be of some help in deciphering what happened." And the slightly higher ranked guard says, "Oh, all right. Hey, Magnus, get out to your post." And Magnus, the guard, says, "Hey, but," and he says, "No buts. Get out there. Make sure no one else comes in here." And then he spins on his heel and says, "Right, follow me." They start walking down the hall, and Silence is looking around. She has never really been, other than in this city, near much obviously dwarven architecture, which this is. So she's examining. She is very interested in it all. There are lots of geometric blocks. There's the standard like big brick size things, but then there are also like bricks that are turned on their side, so they're diamonds set in the wall, and those have intricate carvings. There are little recesses every few feet where torches are hanging on the wall, and there's almost always some sort of design work in those. And as I go further back, she sees that the alcoves start being full of sets of weapons, at least 3 or more. So there's an alcove and there's 3 swords there. Next to alcove, there are 3 spears. Most of them are dwarven sized. However, there are some larger weapons. The city is predominantly dwarvish, but there are other races, as seen by Induriel, who's an elf. So they're going back, and the guard is saying, "Right, so, I don't know what Magnus at the front told you, but this morning, when the guard was changed, one of the guards looked into the room where the golem was, and it was missing. No one had seen anything else being a problem. There was no scuffle or clothes that we found of any sort." And Silence says, "Were there any gray cloaks seen?" And Magnus is the guard at the back. Let's see what this guy's name could be. Let's pull up some dwarf names. I'm going to Donjon, fantasy name generator, Thori the lieutenant. So Thori says, "Grey cloaks? Why do you ask, young mistress?" She says, "Well, I mean, there was a scroll stolen by a cult wearing gray cloaks earlier." And he says, "What?" He kind of turns and looks at them. "A scroll? Like a magic scroll?" And Induriel says, "Yes. I already reported it to the guard, which I suppose you are. So yes, I had a scroll stolen. The guard is already tracking it down." He says, "Well, that's unfortunate. Anyway," he turns and keeps walking down the hall. "Anyway, no one was seen wearing grey cloaks, although we might record that for future information." And then he turns a corner, goes into a room. There are two large iron doors with big rings, and he nods to the guards at that room, who push the doors open, and inside there is a ring of stone with 4 columns of stone at points of the compass on the circle, and lined up with each of those on 3 of the walls, except not the one where the door is, there is a torch with a slightly purple flame burning. Induriel walks in and looks around and says, "Yes. Tell me of this golem that was stolen. You described the incident as far as you know, but what is the golem specifically designed and programmed for?" He says, "Why do you want to know? Are you trying to pry into our secrets, Miss Sorceress?" She says, "Well, it would help me decide what happened and perhaps why it happened if I knew a little more details of what was actually going on." Silence says, "Yeah, but didn't you want..." She says, "Shush! Hush, young lady. Anyway, yes, I could use some details to hunt down or tell you more information of what you're looking for." And he looks at her, rubs his beard, and looks around and says, "Right. This was created by Town Guard Breeder." I'm going to look at Knave's tables again, because there's a few things that I could see a golem being used for, but I'm gonna look at different domains that might exist or something, and I'm gonna roll for effects. So that's a D100, and I will see if I can incorporate whatever the result is into a basic something for the golem to be. Some sort of power that it has beyond just being an iron golem. All right, 22. Condemning. Ooh. Okay, So my initial thing is like, is this an execution bot? Okay. Execution bot is what first came to mind, and that would create a whole set of stuff about this town, or at least town guard Brita. Um, what if it's like building condemning? It's more of a like a wrecking ball golem. It's used to, be used on condemned buildings. I like that. I don't know where I'm going to go with that, but I like that. So I think I'm gonna say that. Well, and actually, that could then, yeah, I have a couple ideas for where that could go. All right. So yeah, it was made by town guard Breda. She invented it to help knock down buildings that have been deemed unsafe. And Induriel says, "Are there buildings that are deemed unsafe in the town? Thought they were all, new and nicely built." And the guard says, "Well, yes, you would expect so, but we've encountered some trouble of slight tremors in the town and the mountain. And yeah, the foundations of some buildings have been found to be weaker than expected by their builders. We are conducting a full investigation, and it shall all be taken care of course. But that's what the Golem's intention was to be able to knock down buildings using its great fists." Induriel says, "And a town guard built this. Is she magically inclined beyond golems? It's, not an easy thing to just create one," he says. "You'll have to ask her that yourself. She's been doing some extracurricular activity, as I believe it's called. She's been studying up on how magic can work and putting her mind to work on using it for the benefits of the city." And Induriel looks at him and says, "Very well. If she's available, I would, of course, like to speak with her." And he says, "Right. Hey, Timnin, go see if Breda's around." One of the guards by the door salutes and starts heading down one of the halls. Induriel looks around and says, "So you say no one noticed anything until the changing of the guard. When was the last time one of your people saw this golem?" And he said, "Oh, I'd say around last night at 9 of the clock." And Silence asks, "Does anyone use it during the night normally?" And Duriel looks at her and cocks an eyebrow, but doesn't, say she shouldn't say anything. And Thori says, "No, not usually. And if it is, it gets checked out. There's a form at the office of reclamation. There's a form in the Office of Reclamation to check it out if it's to be used for any purpose, especially after regular non-night guard hours." And Silence looks at him and says, "So, no?" He looks at her and says, "No." She says, "Okay, just checking." "Did anyone check it out?" He says, "No, as I said the last time, anyway." He kind of stops and thinks for a moment, and then he sees that Timnin is coming back, and he says, "Timnin, go check and make sure that no one used the golem last night, or at least used the form. If they did, they should have had it back by now, but we should double check everything." And Timnin goes, "All right." Turns around, starts going back, and behind him, and still coming into the room, is a female dwarf with gold hair, a little bit of fuzzy sideburns, wearing the town guard armor, as well as having a big pouch on her side with a large book in it. And she has on top of her normal guard outfit, like just a hint of a cowl, like the round cloth on it, and it has like two little hanging ribbons that look like identifying of someone with some magic education. Not everyone is identified by this, but certain people, they can use that to show that they've had magical education. And she has that. She walks in and she says, "Yeah, Induriel, huh? What are you asking questions about my golem for?" And with that, we'll take it up next time. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you enjoyed it. Come back next time, and we'll find out what is going on with Town Guard Brita, her golem, how she knows Induriel. See how Silence gets carried along in this adventure. See what she does, and maybe we'll find out where Tine went. But for now, thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.